Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we will have another learning episode. I'm going to share how to write quantitative research titles by asking these three simple questions. The first question is, who will be the subject of our research? Now the subject is an essential element of our research manuscript. Most of the time we choose our subject depending on our line of interest or our expertise. Since I am an educator, of course, most of the subjects that I'm going to use for my research study would be the students, teachers, parents, the schools, principals, and any other organization or group of people that help contribute to the educational system. However, if I am into the medical field, the group of respondents I'm going to choose for my research manuscript would be the nurses, the doctors, frontliners, patients, COVID survivors, and so on. Anything that relates to the medical field. While if my education is aligned to business, well, the group of subject I'm going to use naman would be business owners most probably, business establishments, online shoppers, consumers, or food delivery drivers, anything that involves to the trend of business sector. Once you're done choosing which among these pool of subjects you are going to use for your manuscript, that's the time you proceed to the second question. Since I am a teacher, I'm going to choose the students as my subject. Now I'll proceed to the second question, which is, what do I want to know from these students? Specifically, what I want to know about them is their level of performance. Now, I'm not gonna stop there. I also need to specify who will be the group of students I'm going to work on. I already have identified. I'm gonna measure specifically my grade 11 SMAU students. Since I have the access to the students because I am their advisor, it will be easier for me to conduct this study. So the last question, but also an important query to ask, is in what specific aspect would you want to gauge or measure these group of students? In my case, I really want to understand their level of performance in terms of this new learning modality. I believe most of the schools are employing modular print as our learning modality. So I want to check the level of grade 11 students' performance in their new learning modality, which is specifically the modular print. So what would be my final title? Grade 11 students' level of performance in modular print learning modality. If I am somebody whose line of interest involves business, it's the same thing. I need to answer these three simple questions. So the first question, who will be my subject? And I'm gonna pick the online shoppers. And then what do I want to know about them? I want to know their satisfaction, the satisfaction of these online shoppers. In what specific aspect would I gauge and measure the subject? So I want to measure their level of satisfaction in terms of buying from products from Facebook Marketplace. The next step is to fix everything out. So my title would be Level of Online Shopper Satisfaction to Facebook Marketplace. This time, I'm gonna give you a different research study naman for a different field. If I am a medical student or somebody who is aligned to that field, I'm gonna use the nurses most probably as my research subject. So how am I gonna do it? First, I already answered the first question, which is who will be my subject. Now I'll proceed to the second question, which is what do I want to know from this subject? What do I want to know from this group of subject? Who are the nurses? I want to understand, I want to examine their stress and their emotional quotient. After answering the second question, I will then proceed to the third question. Intentionally, I want to understand the relationship of their emotional quotient and the level of stress of these nurses. And that ends our video. I hope you have learned a thing or two from this episode. Thank you, everyone.